Hello there, welcome to Fridays at Noon. I'm Michael Chen, the executive producer and director for this talk show series. Fridays at Noon is a bi-weekly lunch and learn series that offers education on professional development topics to the University of Denver employees. For more information and to view past videos, please visit du.edu/HR and click on the People Development link. Now, sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of the show.
And bring your lunch.
And bring your lunch.
Good afternoon. My name is Ken Pennock. I am the Director of People Development for the University of Denver, and welcome to another edition of Fridays at Noon. Today we are meeting with people who will introduce you to in a moment from Enterprise Risk Management. And if you may not have heard of ERM, as it's referred to, it actually means they're doing their job. So I'm really glad to have them here to share more about what they do, and as managers, what you're going to need to be mindful of as you're doing the work that you do. Speaking of that, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that this actually is a requirement for the Supervisory Skills 2 pathway. And so you're actually helping meet a good need in our 14ers program. And so welcome, and welcome. It's a very snowy late April day, and I hear it's spring, but who knows? So, this is our topic, enterprise risk management. I think when I started in HR a really long time ago, when I thought of risk management, it was all about falling and getting hurt or minimizing damage that might occur, but that's not the case. Actually, it's much different. And so that's what we're going to be exploring. And I would like to introduce my guests. Rick Packard is the Director of Enterprise Risk Management. And I would like to introduce David Padilla, who is our Enterprise Risk Management Specialist, and Ryan Talmage, who is our Risk and Insurance Analyst. They do have long titles, so thank you for bearing with that. But I really appreciate you all being here, and I just am amazed by the breadth of what you do. I was asking them for some examples, and they are involved around the whole community, university community. Everything from, I love the Bouncy House event, which that might be another topic. They research travel, international travel, because we are a global institution. So they are working with faculty, staff, and students and issues related to global travel. Africa was that continent that was referenced. And if you're at a hockey game and you actually get hit by a puck, you'll be working with them. So with that,
You might not get any money.
You might not. We're working on that. That's next week. So I would actually, Rick, would like to start with you as the Director of Enterprise Risk Management, and just a bit about your role in your department and what you do within the university.
Sure. I've been with the university for about 2.5 years now, Ken, and our area, I spend a lot of my time just helping Ryan and David. They're the ones that do all the work, it feels like to me. But we're involved in buying the insurance for the university.
Okay.
So that's like liability policies, malpractice policies for like at the health and counseling center, the property policies, which cover all the different buildings on campus. Those became very important last year with the flood claim at the Ritchie Center.
In the Ritchie Center.
We buy the workers' comp coverage for the university, which is an insurance policy of sorts that helps cover employees if they're injured on the job. Okay. David is involved with compliance work, which is helping people around campus comply with about 300 different laws that apply to the university. Mm-hmm. Also, we do records management, helping make sure that records are retained for the appropriate amount of time. We're involved in policy development. I was involved in a couple different projects related to minors on campus and risks of international travel. We have a new international travel policy. And 2 other things that we do, I'm sure I'm overlooking something, but we're involved in evaluating the dangers of traveling internationally.
Okay.
And then we're also involved in risk assessment work as far as evaluating the safety of events on and off campus. And I think one thing that I want to encourage people to keep in mind is that I think there was a culture before any of us were here of people being very conservative and saying no. And particularly with regard to international travel or events on and off campus, we're really trying to do what we can to work with people to let their events move forward if at all possible.
So that's similar to human resources. We're trying to work and evolve from that as well. And when you say insurance policies, that's good for me because I understand there's, professional malpractice or errors and omissions insurance for people?
Yes, we have actually several different kinds. Ryan can probably speak to it better than me, but we have coverage for lawyers here on campus, engineer, architect, the social work and psychology people, and then there's also a type of, like you say, errors and omissions coverage that basically covers anybody in a management type role.
Well, I'm glad you said that. That means I'm covered as an HR director.
Well, you're covered for most activities.
Okay, not all. Okay, all right. Well, thank you. And I'd like to turn to you, David, with the work that you do with compliance and record retention. And I know at times managers, they go, I don't want to have to do that, but really, as a manager, that's part of their role.
Right.
And how do you know? Why is it important, and how are you helping them?
Sure. Well, both programs are important. For compliance, it's important that our managers are aware of the state and federal regulations that apply to their operations.
Okay.
If we don't meet our requirements, then we can be fined. It can get as severe as us getting our federal funding revoked.
Okay. So
yeah,
clearly a financial impact.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then we also have implications for records management practices. So there are some records that have to be kept according to several regulations. So for those, we do have to follow the guidelines, or we can receive fines as well.
Okay. Do you work with managers or deans, supervisors out there with respect to this and helping them in terms of how and what to keep?
Yes, I do.
Or is that?
Yeah, so for the records component, I work with a records liaison from about 30 units, and that can range from someone working in administrative role or someone in a manager role. So I communicate to them what their requirements are, we go through their records, we survey what they have, and then we put together a table that shows how long they should keep their documents, and then once they've met the retention period, how they should either destroy them, send them to archives, or for some they can recycle them.
So this is something if managers out there have questions, and they might actually, until today, they may not even know that they have a role in this, you would be a good contact.
Yes, so I would be a good first contact, and then moving forward, we can either work together, I do one-on-one consultations, I can also work with multiple people within a unit, or the direct liaison.
Okay.
And then the liaisons are posted on our records management website.
Okay, so, and again, this idea of record keeping does have implications financially and even with funding that could impact us, whether staff or faculty, kinds of matters.
So for the records, it's mostly going to be penalties. Some of them range from like $50 to $100, but we really like to not just emphasize the fines and penalties of not complying. For the university, we have a retention schedule that's posted on our website. That's really guided by our university records management policy. So that's something that's been approved by the board. So we just like to make sure that we work with units to make sure they're following best practices, not just to follow the law, but we want to make sure we're maximizing space, so reducing costs of storage space, and then also ensuring that when we have a litigation hold or some type of communication from counsel, those records are easily accessible, and then we can get them over to counsel quickly.
And litigation hold, those of you that are managers probably have experienced that, where if there's an employee claim We are restricted from, of course, removing files, deleting files, and you may get a notice from our office, our general counsel,
Right.
about that. So
Exactly.
so so the records and compliance, and then Ryan, actually, your role, people may have more familiarity with
Right.
what you do, and because they interact with you on different levels. But I guess it's most visible with workers' compensation. And I mean, how do you support managers and employees, if they're injured? This is I realize, a very big question. But kind of where do you and your office kind of start engaging and working with them?
We start engaging and working with them, it really should be from the moment they start with the university. They should know that if there is an injury, they need to go to our website, pull 3 forms, one for the employee, one for the supervisor, and another for the employee, which is the provider's letter. Get those filled out and back to me as soon as possible. It will say on the paperwork you have 24 hours. You really don't. You've got to report to me immediately, because chances are I'm going to hear from the providers long before we get paperwork. So let me know what's going on, and then get the paperwork to me. That way we can make sure our employees who are hurt during the scope and duties of their position are taken care of, and are taken care of properly and quickly.
So with, I guess, advising managers, I was always raised, and correct me if I'm wrong, around, when in doubt, report it. And at times I feel managers or employees might not want to. I guess what would you tell them, or what advice would you give them about
Exactly
that?
what you were raised on. If in doubt, report. If you have any questions, call me. Call Rick, call David. One of the 3 of us can at least get you to the forms.
Mm-hmm.
It's very important, and it's one of the few insurance policies that is required and controlled by law.
Mm-hmm.
So our flexibility on that is much less than it is with any other sort of coverage that the university carries. It's really important that they at least report. We can't force them to go see a doctor, but we still need to be able to report for both the state and federal regulation.
So now, one other question I have to ask is, what are trends you're seeing with respect to workers' comp claims? I hear the term stress thrown around a lot. What's your thinking on that? What are you seeing? You're on the front line with that.
Exactly, and stress is something that we all deal with in our positions. There is such a thing as a stress claim. However, it is, right or wrong, more of a PTSD sort of a claim.
So post-traumatic stress disorder.
Absolutely,
Okay.
and it does involve violence, extreme situations, assault. Outside of those areas, not getting along with coworkers or with a manager or with a department head is not usually enough to trigger this sort of claim. However, people are turning to it more and more. Until case law changes, or until the state legislature acts to codify stress claims, it will continue to be a very high threshold.
Okay. All right. So I would be remiss if I didn't mention, this isn't your whole team, and I don't want to not reference, you do have additional people that work with you, but so there are others as well. So I think, Rick, kind of going back to you, global is near and dear to my heart, and we are really a global organization. And so, how does your office work or support with faculty, staff, or students that are coming and going?
Well, we work really closely with internationalization,
Okay.
as well as the new International Travel Committee. And one thing that I think people recognize, that we have a lot of study abroad students here at the university. I think it's like 600-700
Wow.
a year.
Yes.
I asked Ryan because he supplies that data to our insurance company. But what people don't think about is that we also have lots of graduate students traveling internationally for research, faculty and staff. And what we do is we work with all those different areas to help evaluate the safety of travel, particularly if they're interested in going to more dangerous areas in the world. I think over at the School of Professional Psychology, They have a disaster. What is it, Ryan?
The disaster psychology.
Yeah, I mean,
program.
you can't really let a grad student have a good education in that type of program if you're only letting them go to safe places. But what we try to do is work with people so that they can develop a good action plan for how they might deal with different situations and emergencies. We also, I mean, even though I say we try to work with people, there are some areas of the world that we probably wouldn't allow people to go unless they had a very good reason and a very good plan for how they were going to handle it. We also work with it's kind of like an insurance policy. It's more, they call it a membership with International SOS. And this is a company that we pay money to that helps us with evacuations. They help people when they're in an unfortunate situation overseas. If they need help, they can call them free of charge to get advice. They can call International SOS before they travel for safety, security, medical advice. There's students that are taking, or anybody for that matter, that might be taking some type of medication that's perfectly fine here in the United States, but in some countries it's illegal. And so it's good to consult with International SOS ahead of time before you get to that point of traveling overseas. And then I guess I just want to say two more things. International SOS has been a very helpful partner for us when it comes to evacuating in situations where emergencies are presented. In the last 2 years, we've evacuated 13 different faculty, staff, and students from different situations. Most recently, we had, with the Paris attacks last year, we had it was someone in Belgium that we needed to evacuate, but things had spilled over into Belgium at that time. And then later on last year, we actually had 6 students that were at a university in northern England that was totally flooded out. And they basically closed the campus and sent everyone away. And we had to get those students back because they needed a place to go. And as to your point about this not being our full group, we do have a full-time person starting next month who's going to be handling all this international travel risk-related work.
Would that be an individual for people to contact if they're going to be setting up international travel for themselves or their staff or students? Or how does that work?
Sure. She will certainly be a good resource. A lot of the, if you're in a study abroad program, they've got protocols and procedures all set up already through OIE, Office of International Education. Faculty-led internationalization has different processes, but definitely if you're dealing with a kind of more one-off situation that's not part of a big program, our area could be a good resource, good starting point.
Okay. Well, just a couple more, and I appreciate your time. One thing I've gotten confused about is I get calls about employee safety or employee health. Who does that? Because there's a demarcation. Is that accurate? And I'll just throw it up to the panel here.
There is a bit of a demarcation. If you've got issues with dust, concerns about asbestos, unsafe working conditions, a lot of that falls under Chris Short in environmental health and safety.
Okay.
We do the driver safety course. I am looking at bringing a similar video program in for minors on campus. But for the actual walkways, conditions in your building, construction in and around your building, that really falls under AHS, Chris Short, and environmental health and safety.
So I think, as we start to wrap up here, are there any other points that you from your respective areas that you think managers should really be aware of? Or when in doubt, how do they reach you?
Well, I know we're a scary looking bunch, but
you are. It's a little bit intimidating.
We're happy to help anytime. People can give us a call, shoot us an email. All of our contact information is on our website, as well as a lot of information about everything we talked about. And our website is du.edu/risk.
So risk, du.edu/risk. Okay.
And if you want to reach us by email and you don't want to remember any of our names, which I don't blame you for, risk@du.edu.
Oh,
That's
good.
risk@du.edu.
Okay. All right. So any final points you might want to share for, again, often there's supervisors, managers, department chairs that are going to be most involved with you.
Sure, I would just say as far as records management goes, I'd really encourage managers, if they have new employees starting, that they feel free to reach out to me, because I think it's really beneficial to have new employees come in, work with me, so we can set up those best practices from the beginning.
And I would say we carry a very robust amount of liability coverage. So if you're in doubt about a process, a student question, a concern that comes up in the scope and duties of your position, please reach out and give us a call. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of misunderstanding about what we actually do and can and cannot cover. So please reach out to us if you have any questions.
But you can cover me if I mess up. That's a takeaway I need to be sure.
You got to be doing your job.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That's another topic. So, all right. Well, thank you. Rick, David, Ryan, thank you very much. Appreciate your input, and I would encourage you, if you have questions, please reach out to Enterprise Risk Management. It is a tremendous resource, and in fact, in HR, we work very closely with them. So thank you from this snowy Fridays at Noon. Did I mention that? I probably did. And look toward May 13th. Our next Fridays at Noon session is going to be on mindfulness. Greg Geeson will be the host, and he will be interviewing Grace. So thank you, and have a great weekend.